Planning for perennials now? Yes, now we can plan for perennials for springtime. If you've missed the window to plant your perennials or don't know what to plant, well, I wanted to address just the perennials themselves. But before I show you some perennials that are really popular and easy to grow, let's go through just a small checklist of how to plan for your perennials. Before I show you my perennials, there are several steps that we need when we plan to have a perennial garden. And the first step would be to choose your location. If you have already decided on the perennials that you like, make sure you have the proper location, which would entail sunshine, water access, make sure there aren't any structures in the way like buildings or trees or fences. And then also look around you to see and make sure you don't have any mature shrubbery or even, trees that will not only shade but might be invasive to your perennials and make it difficult for them to grow. The second step is to design your layout. Ties into what I just talked about choosing your location. So design your layout. Look at all the little details on how much your perennials will spread, if they're tall or like a ground cover, all of those kinds of details. And then design a couple of different layouts. That will always help you, kind of think through it, and then it'll make it a lot faster in the springtime when it's time to plant. You know exactly where everything is going to go. I like to companion plant my perennials, and some really good combinations are daylilies and salvia, catmint and galaderia, roses and daylilies, Shasta daisies and salvia, lupine and dianthus. Those are some really popular combinations. So my main reason today for helping you plan for perennials for next year, if you've already missed the window to buy some now and plant some now, is to show you some of my perennials, which I usually buy the popular ones and the easy to take care of ones, and maybe that'll help you as you plan for your perennials for next year. If you're fairly new to gardening, you will notice that there, of course, are cycles, and that if you plan a little better each season or each cycle, you can kind of stay ahead of the game. So what do I mean by that? Well, so we're talking about perennials. So I am actually planning what perennials I'm going to purchase or divide, or those kinds of things here for next year. And I wanted to give you a tour of some of the perennials I have. I always try to buy a perennial that's basically no maintenance, no care, other than watering and fertilizing occasionally, because I don't have the time to have a high maintenance plant. So let me show you some of my plants. And disclaimer, it's fall, and you will see everything is kind of worn out and everybody's dying back because of the cool nights, because we're now hitting the 70s and 60s in this area, and that is affecting some of the plants. So let's check out some of the perennials, and maybe you'll be interested in using some of these in your garden. These are black-eyed Susans. They are one of my favorites. I bought these this past spring, actually. They were on my list, and I finally took the dive in, and they have not failed me. These are 3 plants right now. They are very prolific with blooms. They have been blooming all summer. And of course, in order to keep your flowers blooming, I deadhead them, which basically when the blooms start to die, I will take the bloom off, and that helps the plant produce more blooms. But as you can see, they're very prolific, and they've spread quite a bit because I started with 3 little baby plants, and I would highly recommend black-eyed Susans. This plant right here, right next to my black-eyed Susans, this is actually columbine. It comes up, it dies off every year, and as you can see, the leaves are definitely affected from the cool nights that we're starting to have. And this will die down and it will come back. It will have red flowers, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So this is another pretty hardy plant for our area, and it's called columbine. Alright, this plant may not look like much. It's been through a lot since I built my greenhouse. We stepped on it several times. It died back and it came back. And this actually is garlic chives, and they are perennial. And of course right now at the end of the season they are blooming, and I let them go to seed because they will continue to spread. This is oregano. Oregano, as you can tell, is invasive, and this oregano came from one plant. I would suggest, if you decide to go the oregano route, definitely keep it in a pot, and you can bury the pot in the ground to keep it kind of contained. But oregano obviously is very invasive. It's super hardy. It does die back in the winter, and it's incredibly prolific throughout the growing season. I love oregano because, of course, I am a cook and I'm Italian, so it's kind of in my blood. But you can dry it, you can use it, of course, fresh, and it's really, really a wonderful herb because it's very pungent, and it just makes a big difference to have your own. These are Coreopsis. Coreopsis is, like the black-eyed Susan, a very hardy plant. It's very, I do believe it goes across many zones, and it's incredibly, colorful, and there's lots of different varieties. I've had them in other gardens at other houses, and you just can't go wrong with this type of plant. And of course, deadhead them to get more blooms. So that is Coreopsis. This is one particular type. Let me show you, I have another type here in the same garden. And this is also lavender, as you can see. Very fragrant. You can use it in sachets. You can dry it, put it in your food and teas. It's just wonderful. I can't get enough lavender, and it comes back, of course, because it's perennial year after year. Here's the next perennial I want to show you underneath the lavender here. This is gold moneywort, and it is a ground cover. This was one of the plant rescues I rescued a few months ago, and I will put a link to the Are You a Plant Rescuer video on here so you can learn more about how to rescue plants. But this, of course, is a perennial ground cover. And the last perennial I want to show you, which is fantastic. I keep giving these plants away because I let them go to seed and they just keep reproducing. This is a blue salvia, or a sage plant. They bloom twice a year. This is their second bloom, and of course right now, since it's the end of the season, it's kind of getting a dull purple color. As it gets colder, that purple color gets darker. In the springtime, they're more bluish. But these, I would say, they're probably the gift that keeps on giving.